morning, everybody. I grabbed me a cup of coffee and a basket to come out to the garden and cut some rhubarb. I thought it would be a good day to mix up a rhubarb coffee cake. And the rhubarb is coming. It's starting pretty good. I do see that some of it is bolting already, and I'll show you in a little bit. And it's really too early for that to happen. So I definitely need to get the sprouts or the bulb that's wanting to sprout cut off. It's wanting to go to seed. But I thought the coffee cake sounded good, and after I'd talked to my friend this morning, Miss Lori, over at Whippoorwill Holler, she was baking a cake too. We're going to bake something in her kitchen, and she's just an inspiration, so go check her out. I enjoy it when I see her name pop up for a little chat now and then. Makes my day. My kind of gal, my kind of people. But it's a really, really cool, damp, kind of foggy kind of day. But listen to the birds. I don't know if you can hear them or not. The birds are really singing. So they're enjoying this. It's probably like a bath to them. Probably kind of like playing in a bird bath, splashing around. Right now it's not really drizzling, but it has been. And this morning Cowboy started the wood stove again. Here we are almost middle of May, and we're still starting that wood stove and taking the chill off the house. And so while I was out checking goats, and I'll show you those later too, he stayed in the house and got some bacon cooking and a pancake and some farm fresh eggs, and so we had a good breakfast when I came back in the house. And the house felt so warm and cozy after being out in the damp. But even though it's wet, and my shoes are already getting wet from walking in the grass, and it's chilly, this cup of coffee tastes pretty good. I look back and I think we've done pretty good this week. Even though the weather's not cooperating quite yet, you can see in the background, we have not got our gardens in yet. It's been a cool spring here in Montana, and I have had to replant a lot of my seeds for the third time. And these are trays that are in my greenhouse, and they're still freezing. So it's getting pretty chilly at night. There's always a little frost on the windshield in the morning, and it's just too early for anything in the ground. We did plant potatoes, and some of those are coming up, but they still need some warm sunshine that we haven't had. But as soon as it's kind of changes the pattern, weather pattern, we're ready to really go to work. But until then, we still made use of our days here on the homestead. We did a lot this last week, and I guess that's why I'm dragging today. I'm a little tired out. We've got our little barns, our little sheds, that when we moved in here 2 years ago, we never really did get a chance to level them. And this spring and after last spring and last summer, we had to skunk proof them too, because the skunks were just moving in. Last year we had 8 skunks. This year we've already had 2, and that's perfect place for them to hide. We're under all these little buildings, and so we leveled them up, 3 of them, and we went around and put board around them. We packed in, banked them with some dirt, and so now they're not only just skunk proof, but they're pretty much mouse proof. We've got one more door to work around, but that was a big job in itself. This week we also, Cowboy got his shop painted on the inside, nice and bright and white and clean and fresh, and so now he can finish getting moved into that, and we'll get the 1040 room all set up. We did use it already this weekend, and we're not even set up in it really, but we had the opportunity to pick up a pig, a 250 to 300 pound pig from South Dakota that some friends had brought in. And so we picked her up, and that evening we butchered her while it was cool. She hung in our cool shop with the tractor and got cooled off overnight. And so then on Saturday, Cowboy and I went to butchering or cutting and wrapping, and we got that pig in our freezer. So that was a blessing too. And so even though we're not getting to the gardens like I had hoped and we should be, we are still getting some projects done on the homestead. So hopefully by weekend we can start the gardens and really get them coming. So I'm going to turn this camera around and show you my rhubarb that's bolting, and we'll go to cutting it. So here's one of my rhubarbs. I have a little one down here going, and I've got this one, and you can see I need to come in here and take this off, cut it off or break it off, and I think it's there. We don't want it to bolt because it's too soon, so I'm going to pick that off. And there's enough rhubarb. There's another one. There's enough rhubarb here. All I need is a couple cups, and there's some nice stalks. Usually you can just pull them out, but maybe I'll get my knife. I don't want to pull the whole plant because the ground is kind of wet, so maybe I'll get my knife. This one we had to move this spring, so it's set way back. Here's another one. We've got to get this off of. And this one over here is pretty big. And it also needs to be, wow. But there are some stalks here. I'll be able to get enough rhubarb for a coffee cake. There's just a whole lot that needs to be done out here to get ready for spring gardens. Weeds to pull, and here's some onions from last year. I'm going to go ahead and let them go to seed and keep the seed. That's what it's all about. Make sure that we can keep seeds. I did notice a tiny little pansy came back from last year, and it's trying to bloom out in the middle of nowhere. Here's another. This is a chive, and it's going to seed, and I may let this one go to seed. This one over here I need to chop down and dehydrate, and it'll keep coming back. So I may cut that too and get that in the dehydrator. We're going to cut all this off. We don't want it bolting yet. And there's a lot of it trying to bolt. Here's a little rhubarb. What I'll do is just cut the leaf off. And I like to take the leaf and lay it on the ground underneath. Kind of kills out the weeds and the grass. There. Lots of bolting on it. Another leaf. The stalks aren't very long yet. If you've got a rhubarb plant on your place and it was there for years, I can only imagine probably some homesteader way back when put that in the ground. They are so hardy. They will come back year after year after year. They'll come back without water. It's such a good plant to have on your homestead. It's in a taste, I guess, to it used to. But if you grew up on rhubarb and strawberries, you know what I mean. You cook a kettle of strawberry and rhubarb together with a little sugar and it makes the best dessert, or just fruit with a little bit of canned milk or cream. It's yum. This is going to be the third summer for my rhubarb here. My mom always had a kettle of this cooking in the spring, and it would taste so good. The stalks are big. They're just not very long this year. And that's mainly because I want to go to Bolt with some good rhubarb. Here's a nice long one. And I think we'll leave the rest of that on that plant for right now. But we've got a little bit from the one plant. I've almost got enough for a coffee cake. Well, I think that's enough rhubarb for a good cake today. So let's go check out the little goats in the barn before I go in the house. So I'm going to try to show you a little bit of what I've got going in this greenhouse. Over here, and you're not going to be able to see it very well, but I have some cabbages going. I've just recently planted some cabbages up there, cauliflower and broccoli. The pots here in the center are all pots that I have had to restart for the third time. It's just not worked out. I've lost them due to frost at night, and that's even in the greenhouse. But everything that I planted right into the ground is doing okay, except the only thing I lost, and you'll see it there, are some green beans. And I have already replanted some seeds. There's a few plants left that made it through the frost, but there should be more coming up. But anyway, this will be brassicas here in this corner. Then I've got some peppers, and I can see tiny pepper plants coming up. And they may need to be thinned, actually. This whole area is onions and some chives, and they're coming really good. These 3 trays are just radishes, spinach, and some lettuce that I've started that way. But here you can see where my beans did freeze. But there's a few good healthy plants that'll come early, and there'll be more sprouting. But the peas are going to do really good. They're liking this cooler weather, and I'm hoping they'll climb up the pallet fence. Then I've got some carrots over here, and they're coming really well. Over in the corner, I've got some parsnips, I've got some spinach, and I've got a variety of lettuce in this corner. I've got beets planted here next. And I've got a bunch of radishes coming right here. My zucchini that I had planted in here, it also died down. This one might come back okay. I can see it's still green, but I did lose one, but I think I stuck a seed in there. I've got cucumber seeds coming up, and they're going to do good in here. And then over in this corner, I just threw out some tomato seeds, and they are starting. They're coming. So everything that I planted right in the ground really has done fairly well in this greenhouse that we built. We built it out of pallets, out of cattle panels, and some 2x4s. And I wanted to be able to plant a little bit earlier here in Montana for some early garden salad stuff mainly. But it's an experiment. Everything I put in here probably will not do good, but I want to see what does work and what doesn't work. So that's why I've put a variety in here. And there it is. Hello, Heidi. She will be having babies. It's just going to be a little longer. And I've put her in here out of the way of the barn where the girls that are kidding right now are, because she's so naughty with her horns. But she will eventually kid this summer, I think. I can tell she's got a baby belly, but it'll be a while. So we'll go check the barn out. Here's the girls over here that are ready to kid. Some of them are close. Whoops, sorry. And some are still a few days off. But we'll go look in the barn at the new ones. I'm kind of wondering at that girl right there with her complaining today. I think she's in labor. We're going to have a baby. Perfect timing. Yes, that's what's happening. So I think I will put her in the barn. And then we'll see what happens. Okay, we've got her in the barn. And we have her in a pen. Excuse me, I'm going to lift this up over. She's definitely in labor. I'm going to remove that water bucket so nothing falls in it. She's got some goop hanging out, so she's definitely going to have her babies. And she's safer in here. It's nice and dry, and we're going to just leave her be for a little bit and keep an eye on her. They've got a beautiful coop to lay eggs in, and this is where they come. So here's our first babies. They were born yesterday. Both are girls, and they're doing great. They're so cute. She's such a good mama. Here they are. They're pretty cute. Let's see if I can get the camera up a little higher. Oh, so noisy. Aren't they cute?
Are you having babies?
I'm having babies. So I was busted. Cowboy caught me in the barn holding baby goats. I should be in making that rhubarb cake that I told him about. But anyway, he has to run for errands, and I told him, no cake yet. I've got to make sure this goat has her baby okay. And so I'm hanging in the barn today. She's doing some serious pushing over there too. Welcome to my noisy barn. I'm sure she just laid an egg in here. And we have about to witness new life in our barn. You're so close, Mama. I want to stick close. Make sure she's not going to have any trouble. You can do it. You can do it. She's a first-time mama, so she doesn't have a clue what's going on. She's 2 years old. You're making good progress. Won't be long and you'll have a baby. Won't be long. If you would lay down, it might be a little easier. If something like this bothers you, you're more than welcome to fast forward a little bit. But this is life. This is what it's like on a homestead. Lots of new babies born. It's a miracle. Okay. I'm kind of thinking I might need a little help. It's okay. Let me help you. It's kind of hard for this baby, isn't it? Both feet are there. Let me help you. It's coming. Okay. It's alive. Here, Mama. Get a sniff. Get a sniff. Yeah, there. There. There you go. There you go. Well, that turned out okay. I could just tell she needed a little bit of an assistance, a little bit of help. And her belly possibly has another one in there. But for a first-time mama, she's doing exactly what she should do. She's talking to it. She's licking it. Such a good mama. We'll wait and see if she's going to have another one. I kind of wonder. I bet she does. Well, this wasn't all planned. Believe me, I had the camera here at the right time, and you got to watch me help this new mama out. And she's a good mama. She's talking to it, she's licking it, but I also think there's a good chance she's got another one in her. So I'm going to hang out here in the barn just a little bit longer, and I'm pretty sure she'll have the second one on her own. It's exciting times on the homestead. So I've decided to leave the new mama in the barn for a little while and let her have a little privacy. We're waiting on little Molly to calve, but she's still a ways off. And there's a little fella over here. He is a cute little guy, stocky. Last night we milked Jersey. She gave us almost 2 gallons of milk and some cream. So she's a pretty big blessing right now to the homestead. So here we have 9 more goats to kid right now. It feels so strange because I normally have got 40 to kid. Yeah, there's some billies and baby pigs. I kind of thought she might be next. She's a ways off still. This one's close. Oh, hi Jersey. I see you. I see you, girl. I know. You're a good cow. You're such a good cow. And you have such good milk. And little Molly's got her old name tag still in. Her name was Rose, but I had renamed her when I bought her. Because I've got a Millie, a Maggie, and a Molly on miniatures. But probably when we get her in the stanchion, we'll cut that tag out. She's actually too friendly. This one you got to watch out for. Yeah, got to watch out. This will be her first baby too. Yeah. So I'm headed in the house right now. And we'll give the little goat a little privacy. Get my hands washed up. See if I can't find my recipe for my rhubarb coffee cake. These are our little turkeys. Came in to check on them, and I guess before I go to the house, I better get some more feed. They must be a little cool on this day. So damp out. They're doing good. Here's our one little guinea chick, Keat, and it is really growing. It's got company of the ducks across the fence and company of the chickens on the outside. Well, folks, it's been one of those days, and I still haven't been back out to the barn to check on the new mama to see if she actually had a second one. I did bring in my rhubarb, and I'm going to go ahead and get this camera set up and show you how I mix up this rhubarb coffee cake and get it in the oven so that later Cowboy and I can have a cup of hot coffee and a piece of cake. So I'll get this set up and you can watch. Okay, I'm working at chopping up 2 cups of my rhubarb that we were out in the garden picking earlier. And this just reminds me of my mom. She used to love to go out and get her rhubarb, and she would make up big kettles of cooked down rhubarb with some sugar on it, and it was so yummy with a little bit of either fresh milk or canned milk on it. It's really good either hot or cold. She would make pies. If she had strawberries, she'd throw strawberries in too. Let's see, we've got to have a couple cups for our recipe. And some people like them chopped even finer than this, but I like to chop them a little bit coarser because I really like the flavor. I think we can go ahead and add the rest of these pieces. That one's a little bigger, but this is going to give us a good taste in our cake. There we've got our 2 cups. I have started with, I've got a 1.5 cups of sugar, and that's going to go into our bowl. 1.5 cups of sugar. Get me a wooden spoon. I could have, let's see, this is my butter. I've melted half a cup, a whole stick of butter. We're going to put that in there. And I'm going to put a couple of eggs in here. A couple of our farm fresh eggs. And I like to break them into my bowl or cup or something just to make sure that I don't have an eggshell. That one looks good. Farm fresh from the chicken coop. So we've got 2 eggs. We've got a 1.5 cups of sugar, 1 stick of butter, 2 eggs, and I'm going to find a fork and whisk that up. Just a little bit. And it calls for, in the recipe, sour milk. But you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to change that up a little bit just because I can. And I know it'll be just fine. I'm going to go ahead and stir this together a little bit. The sugar and the butter and the eggs. We'll just cream it a little bit. I'm going to use Jersey's fresh milk. And this little bit that's in this jar still has the cream in it. And so I'm just going to swish it around and blend that cream back in. I hadn't skimmed it off yet. And instead of sour milk, I'm going to use a cup of her milk in this cake. A cup of whole milk with the cream in. But it actually calls for a cup of sour milk. And what I could have done was added a little bit of, lemon juice to that and let it sit for a few minutes and sour. But I'm just going to use her fresh milk the way it is because I know it's going to be good. We'll blend this in. Maybe we'll get a whisk and blend it a little better. See if you can see all this and move my mess out of the way. There we go. I have my pan ready. I've greased it. I've got my oven heated to 350. I'm using my mama's crock bowl that I use all the time. I handle it so carefully. I would just cry if I ever broke it, but I love to use it. Okay, we're going to go ahead and add in 2 cups of flour. And I have to step over here to grab that. There's 1. And 2. And I think I'll switch back to my spoon right now. We're going to need some soda. 1 teaspoon of soda. So I put 2 cups of flour in. And I need 2 teaspoons of soda. I need to get this in a jar. Okay, 2 teaspoons of soda. I need some salt, and we're going to put in half a teaspoon of salt. Okay, and that is going to be our batter. I'll go ahead and stir it up. So if you've bought a old homestead recently and you don't really know what's growing on your property yet, I would walk around this time of year around some old buildings, maybe an old garden spot. You're more than likely going to find an old rhubarb or 2 plant that some old homesteader had planted years and years and years ago. If not, if you're starting a new homestead, I'd definitely see if you can't find some rhubarb, either a plant from a neighbor, a piece that you can dig up, or maybe find some seed and start some of your seed, or maybe you'll be lucky and find a little plant at a greenhouse. But I would start a couple. It's really nice to have. Tastes really good with strawberries for strawberry rhubarb pie. Okay, that's all mixed and blended and it looks so good. All we're going to do here now is add the rhubarb, or 2 cups of rhubarb. Okay. There we go. So then what I do that next would be, move this out of the way, is put that in the pan. Okay. I have not had one of these cakes since last spring. It's the first thing I do when I see my rhubarb starting to grow. Every spring, it's just part of me on the homestead. And I guess it's because I grew up with my mama making it all the time and making use of her rhubarb. She didn't let it go to waste. Another thing you can do is you can cut it like I did. You can chop it up. You can put it in little Ziploc bags and throw it in your refrigerator, or your freezer, excuse me, not your refrigerator, your freezer. And you've got rhubarb all winter long. You can make rhubarb bread, more pie. You can add it to a cobbler. So don't let any of it go to waste. I've had a friend the last couple years that's been giving me some of hers because I was trying to get my plants established, and oh, I enjoyed that. It was so nice. I don't like to waste a bit of the batter if I can help it. So I'm going to just spread it out. And this is a 9 by 13 pan, okay? And there's one step left before it goes in the oven. And excuse me, but I need a little bowl because we're going to go ahead and add a couple tablespoons of sugar and a teaspoon of cinnamon to this. Let me grab it. I've got the cinnamon over here. So we're going to go with a couple of tablespoons of sugar, and I've got some organic sugar here, and a teaspoon of some cinnamon. And you just mix that around, blend it together. So you got some cinnamon sugar, and you just, I'm going to use my hands to sprinkle it around. Spread it around the top of your coffee cake, and it really gives it an extra flavor. Just really a good combination. Okay. And that is it. We're going to stick it in the oven at 350 for about approximately 45 minutes. And then I'll bring you back and let you see what it looks like at the end. Well, I'm waiting for the cake to bake. The timer's on, and it's already smelling really good in here. But I just wanted to show you that I had enough rhubarb to fill another 2 cups. And what I'm going to do here is just write rhubarb, spring, May 2020. And I'm going to go ahead, put the 2 cups into this, lay it in my freezer, and this winter, if I feel like making a rhubarb coffee cake, I am all set. So that was perfect. It was just enough to make 2 cakes. Get the air out of here. Let me open that a little bit again and squeeze the air out as much as possible. And there you go. This is all ready to go into the freezer, and sometime this winter we'll drag this out on a cold, snowy day, this winter coming up, I should say, and we can still have us a coffee cake, a rhubarb coffee cake. So don't waste any of that rhubarb. Save it. It could go in with strawberries to make a pie, you know, whatever you want to do. But when this cake gets out of the oven, I'm going to let you just take a look, and we'll cut it and see how it tastes. Okay, it actually only took 40 minutes to bake, and it's done. And I wish you could smell it. It smells so good. But I had taken a toothpick to do the test, and it comes out clean. So I know it's done, and it's been in there 40 minutes. So we're going to let it cool off now. I'm going to run out to the barn and check on the new goat, and I'll take you along with the camera, and we'll see what's out there while this cools off. So she only had one, which is okay. That's actually better for her first time. Hey, little one. You're black and white. You've got a white moon spot. You're going to be so cute when Mama gets you all cleaned off. Good job, Mama. Good job. You did good. Yes, you did. And your baby looks good. Got a floppy ear. Pretty cute. We'll check it out tomorrow. We'll let her have some more privacy. Good job. Thanks for following me today. We've got a good rhubarb cake. And it's time for coffee. It's time for Prairie Girl to kick her feet up. Yummy. Moist, flavorful. Perfect with a cup of hot coffee. Cowboy's not in here yet. He's missing out. It's been a busy day. I'm glad you followed us along. Find us over on Facebook, Prairie Girl Farm.
Take care.